Pencil.
Mr. Tarun Agarwal, can we have your introduction, please?
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm Tarun Agarwal. I run a hotel called Hotel Bright in Connaught Place. It's a small boutique property.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
I would also request all the users to kindly change their name to their real name. So you can go to the participants. There you see yourself. You find an option to rename yourself. So I can see somebody with the name 2BA50. If you can change your name to your real name, please. I can see somebody with the name TK. If you can actually take your full name, please. I can see somebody from the Lalit. If you can introduce yourself, sir. The guest from the Lalit temple. Okay, can we have introduction of Mr. Sanjay Kumar? Can we have the introduction from Mr. Deep Ranjana D?
Good morning, everyone. This is Deep Ranjana, and I'm working with Amritara Hospitality Industry.
Very happy morning to all of you. I would request all the participants to kindly introduce themselves one by one and use this extra time for networking. You can unmute yourself and you can start introducing yourself one by one.
Mr. Amit Sharma. You can please introduce yourself. Mr. Amit Sharma. Mr. Vinod Radhakrishnan, you may please introduce yourself. Mr. Vinod Radhakrishnan.
Hi, this is Vinod Radhakrishnan. Are you guys able to hear me?
Yes, please.
Okay. Hi, I'm from Chennai. I run a industrial catering unit which supplies food to companies in a SEZ. So currently they are all closed. So my kitchen is also closed.
Right.
Not supplying any food at the moment. So
Welcome, sir. Welcome.
yes, nice to be here. Look forward to sharing views with others on this plan.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for being there. Mr. Shatrunjay Singh, please introduce yourself.
Hello, Namaskar, I'm Shatrunjay. I'm from Devshri. I'm a part of IHHC and I run a small heritage property, which is a built heritage, started and it's a Relay and Chateau property, small deluxe homestay.
Lovely, sir. Welcome. Welcome to the program.
वेलकम सर गुड आफ्टरनून सर कैसे हैं सर
Very well, sir.
हाँ आप कैसे हैं सर
Very good, sir.
अच्छा सर और कैसा चल रहा है सर
Lots of pranayam, lots of exercise in the swimming pool, और looking forward के दुनिया में जो चेंज आया है शनि भगवान की कृपा से कि इसको
जी
कैसे
सर
ओवरकम करेंगे.
जी सर हाँ ये सर हमारा उड़ीसा में भी तो बहुत अच्छा है सर उसका रिजल्ट भी ठीक है सर हेलो
Yes, sir.
हेलो हाँ सर हमारा उड़ीसा में भी रिजल्ट ठीक है सर
Yes, sir.
हाँ सर
और हमारे भी लकी कि हमारे डिस्ट्रिक्ट में अभी तक वी आर स्टिल ग्रीन इन द सेंस हमारे केस नहीं हुआ है बट अभी विद गुजरात बॉर्डर ओपनिंग मेरा मानना है कि धीरे धीरे अब आएंगे और we'll have to be careful.
अच्छा सर सर कुछ टिप्स दीजिए सर हमको कोरोना वायरस के ऊपर कुछ टिप्स दीजिए सर
सर देखिए जो FSSAI ने जो गाइडलाइंस दिए हैं वो तो एक स्टैंडर्ड प्रोसीजर अपन को रखना पड़ेगा. आई थिंक राइट नाउ क्वारंटाइनिंग आवरसेल्व्स इज वाइटल. आई थिंक मेरा जो विचार है कि अपन अभी वी हैव टू गो बैक टू द रूट्स क्योंकि जो धंधा है वो इट इज अंडरगोइंग अ कंप्लीट चेंज ऑफ फिलॉसफी. अभी तक अपन प्रॉफिटेरिंग में ही चल रहे थे और प्रॉफिटेरिंग में इसमें बदलाव आया है और विचार में बदलाव आया है और ये बदलाव लंबे दर तक चलने वाला है.
So we can probably have more interactions going forward. We would request more people to introduce themselves. Miss Rita Shah, I welcome you on board. We would request, ma'am, if you can introduce yourself. Of course, the industry knows you, but we would welcome if you can,
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Rita Shah here. I am at present ex-CEO of Hunt Hotels. Now I'm president of the Kiryad group for the sales and marketing based out of Mumbai. I mean, I'm based out of Delhi, but the company is based out of Pune headquarters, and we have about 31 hotels at the moment. And branding is going on with some other hotels in Sri Lanka also.
We welcome you, ma'am. It's so nice to have you here.
Thank you.
Mr. Balaji, if you can introduce yourself, please.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Balaji. I am from Bangalore. I am in the field of providing cleaning and maintenance solutions, basically catering to food and food-related industries, where we provide food-grade cleaning solution and also sanitization solutions, which is the need of the hour. I represent a US company called NCH Corporation, who are in this field for more than 100+ years. And we can help industry to cut down their expenses, especially on housekeeping and cleaning, by more than 15 to 20%. Because we provide water-based safe cleaning solution, which is food grade and which can be used as one product for all the cleaning applications, right from floor till vessel washing. Thank you, and look forward to get connecting with all of you.
Welcome, Balamji.
Thank you so much.
We request somebody by, the name is reflecting as Galaxy A9 Pro. Request if you can just put your complete name so that everybody can identify and relate. Everybody is requested to put their complete names so that we can identify and relate.
Yes, rightly said, Ms. Taran. And I would once again request all the participants who has not introduced themselves, they can unmute themselves one by one and they can start introducing themselves and use this free time in networking.
Hi, Sudhir. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, my name is Atul Khanna, and I'm a director of a heritage hotel. We run a hotel called Vivana Culture Hotel. This is in Rajasthan, and what's happening today, because 70% of our guests were Europeans and Americans. So I'm here to learn from the other people how to handle the situation.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Sangeeta Kataria, can we have your introduction, please?
Yeah, I'm a entrepreneur.
Please carry on.
Yeah, we are into office furniture and projects. I also have a co-working space at Fort, which is on my backdrop, and we are looking at how to relook at how to get it going and moving on further, because at COVID time it's tough. We were doing quite well with events and shots and studios, shows and TV shows earlier with this co-working spaces on a terrace in Bombay at Fort. So looking at if there are opportunities which come to reuse this place. So that's where it is. And we're into office furniture. So we have projects on. Once I think it opens out, we'll be executing those projects.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Sudhir Arora, can we have your introduction, please? Mr. Manav Sharma.
Hi, morning. Chef Sudhir here. I am executive chef for Travel Food Services Delhi. I handle production for the entire North India for the company. We manage restaurants at the airport and highways and food courts.
Great, sir.
Yeah.
Mr. Sanjay Tank, can we have your introduction, please?
Good morning, everyone. Myself, Sanjay Tank, working for Summit Hotels and Resorts as a sales manager based out in.
Please check your audio. Not audible to us.
Just a minute.
Urvashi Pal, can we have your introduction, please?
Hear me?
Mr. Sanjay, try speaking now.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. There is some disturbance in your audio, sir. The voice is not very clear.
Now it's audible?
No, sir. I would request all the new participants who are joining us to kindly rename themselves so that we can identify them with their names. And you can unmute yourself and start introducing yourselves too.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, Sunilji, please.
Yeah, so would you like me to start by introducing myself?
Why not, sir? Why
Sir,
not?
even though I will do the honors, but you are most welcome. We welcome you here, sir.
Please go ahead. I'll wait for you. You tell me when to do what.
We welcome you, sir, and it's an honor to have you here.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm not getting a video here. Can you see me though?
Yes, sir. We can
see you.
All right. Okay, it's back now. So thank you very much. Thank you for having me on your panel. I'll briefly give you a little bit of an introduction about myself. Hotelier for over 40 years. Charandeep, now I can see you.
Yeah.
I worked with companies like the Oberoi, where I began my career, and went on to work with Bharat Hotels Limited, and now Shanti Hospitality, with a bit of a small stint of 5 years with the Park Hotels. So that's my career span, and happy to be here with you.
Thank you, sir. We look forward to a lot of inputs from you.
Thank you. And I would, thank you, all the participants for loving us continuously for more than a month now. We are overwhelmed that from the past 2-3 episodes, people are waiting for us. We could not accommodate more than 100 people here. We have a paid account, but thanks for all this love. People are joining in every second. This is a marvelous thing to see. I would request you all to kindly boost our morale by liking us on Facebook too. So I would request you, if you can spare 1 minute here, and go to facebook.com/Happy Hotelier Club and then like us on Facebook. This will help us reaching more and more people, and we would be happy resolving issues of all the hoteliers, restaurant owners, from the industry experts. So please visit facebook.com and like us there.
So can I introduce myself?
Yeah, please.
So myself, Sanjay Tank. I'm currently working with Summit Hotels and Resort as a sales manager for West Zone.
Great, sir. Welcome.
Thank you very much, sir.
So I would request all the new participants, they can unmute themselves and they can introduce one by one. So Abhishek, I would request you, if you can maintain the decorum of the meeting. You can stop your video, please.
Hi, good morning, everybody. This is Sanjeev Nair, General Manager with ITC Welcome Heritage.
Welcome you, Mr. Sanjeev. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kindly introduce themselves one by one.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yes, Mr. Kamal, please.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Kamal Khattar from Gesture Hotels and Food Private Limited, having a restaurant at Indian Guild Room on Golf Course Road in Gurgaon, as well as Masala Cafe in RD Mall at present.
Welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
We'll start in another 5 minutes. Let us wait for a few more people to join in. We will be starting very shortly. And we'll let us have more introductions from our new participants.
Good afternoon, all.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Dheeraj, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, sir. Please.
Yes, this is Wilson here. I work as a sales manager for a hotel in Chennai, OMR, called Regenta Central. And we run 2 cloud kitchens in the name of Jazz Biryani and Light Tiffin. Thank you.
Awesome, sir. Awesome. Can we hear from Mr. Dev Vashne? Mr. Dev Vashne?
Yes, sir. I am a student of IHM Meerut.
Okay, please welcome.
Thank
I
you,
can
sir.
see guests here who are using some alphanumeric names. I would request all of you to kindly rename to your real names so that we can identify you.
Can we have the introduction from Mr. Deepak Rawat? Mr. Deepak Rawat?
Good afternoon, Tarandeep. Can I introduce myself?
Yes, please. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Sanjay Chaturvedi, working as Director of Materials with Hilton Hotel.
Welcome, sir.
With Tarandeep, you remember I was with JP Hotels?
Yes, sir. Of course, I remember. You're welcome.
I hope everyone has introduced.
Can I introduce myself?
Yeah, please, sir.
I'm Prabhuda Subudhi, Director, Hotel Sagar Tarang Resort Private Limited at Puri.
I would request everyone to kindly put themselves on mute and unmute when you are due to speak.
I'm Pramod Jalan from Asara Beach Resort, Mandarmani.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Kotial, can we have your introduction, please?
Hi, this is Ramesh Kukweti from Kotiar by Marriott, Agra.
We welcome you, sir.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. This is Shweta from Institute of Hotel Management, Faridabad.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Shweta. I think this is probably your 5th or 6th presence in our episodes. I think you're following us on all the episodes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much for your love, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mr. Kotial.
Anyone who has not introduced themselves, please unmute and introduce yourself.
Good evening. I'm Shashi Jacob from Villamaya to Andrum. I'm the Vice President.
Thank you, sir. Welcome.
Hello, hi. Hi, this is Vipin Yadav from ITP Media, Hotelier India magazine. So this would be, I'm regularly following up with you guys, doing the sessions regularly. So just wanted to introduce myself. Thanks.
Hi, myself Pankaj Goin. I'm representing from Relook Hotels. We have our properties in New Digha, West Bengal and Kharagpur. Thanks.
Welcome, sir.
Hi, my name is Mohit Mutani. I'm from SK Robotics LLP in Mumbai. I'm the president, and we're into making robots for hotels and resorts. Thank you.
Welcome, Mr. Mutani.
Hi, my name is Mohit Sharma. I help restaurants and hotels for e-menu, e-ordering in these challenging times.
Welcome, Mohit.
Hi, my name is Chandan. I'm Unit Finance Controller in Fortune Shimla, Himachal Pradesh.
Welcome, sir.
Hello, my name is Deepak.
Hi, my name is Pradeep Sharma, and we supply FMCG and alcohol products to the hotels.
Welcome, sir.
Hello, I am Deepak Rawat. I'm a General Manager of Rosewood Hospitality and Private Limited.
Welcome, Deepak.
All of our participants have wonderful response. We are close to 100 now. We are already crossed 90 in terms of our participation. Let us wait for a few more guests. We will begin in just 2 more minutes. Meanwhile, let us have the introduction from few more people who have recently joined.
Hello.
Myself, Chwan Chamadia
Yes, please go ahead, ma'am.
from Kathiar. We have Hotel Satkar. I am partner in Hotel Satkar.
Voice was not clear, ma'am.
Somebody has a lot of disturbance in the background.
Okay, so I would request everyone to kindly mute themselves and only unmute when you are due to speak. Whosoever wants to introduce themselves can unmute and speak.
Hello, sir.
Yes, Mr. JP Choker. Mr. JP Choker, please introduce yourself. Anybody is due to speak for their introduction can introduce themselves. Unmute yourself and start speaking.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Kalimurthy from Mahajana Institution, Mysore. I'm an assistant professor who's handling the hotel management classes.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. This is George Jason from Mahajana's PG Center, working as a HOD and associate professor for hotel management.
Welcome.
Can we begin the event now? You still want to wait?
Let us start formally. Yes, sir, sure.
Yeah. So you take control then.
So with your permission, I am muting all the participants and I welcome formally to HHC Slowdown episode 6. HHC is a brainchild of 3 passionate hoteliers with the purpose of bringing out hoteliers on one platform where they can share best practices, teething issues, where they can share their best practices, teething issues, and desire along with pain points, easy vending, and some stress relieving too. A perfect place for any hotelier to come together and interact, share, and rediscover his own self. May also be useful for sourcing right manpower and vendors. Our vision and mission statement, a platform for providing happier ways of networking, learning, exchange of ideas, and career insurance. A small brief about the HHC core team. Mr. Ashish Gupta, who is a hotelier and our Chief Operating Officer. Mr. Ashish Gupta.
Happy morning to all.
Ms. Tarandeep Full, who is a branding and PR expert and our Chief Demonstration Officer.
Happy morning to all.
Myself, Dheeraj Agarwal, a strategist and IT expert and acting here as Chief Technical Officer. At this point of time, I would request all our participants to kindly spare a minute and like us on Facebook by going to facebook.com/happyhotelierclub. We request you to like our Facebook page, and this would actually help us in serving you better in future and motivating ourselves. We are overwhelmed that from past 3 episodes, we are having 100% participation. And meanwhile, you are liking our Facebook page. Let me take you through the expectation from the episode 6. So today we'll be discussing how can a mid-sized hotel minimize the impact of slowdown in respect to manpower, SOPs, restructuring, new technology implementation, and revenue revival strategies. And before we actually go further, let us have a small recap of our previous episodes. In episode 1, we have discussed the crisis hotel industry is going through. Then we had our episode 2, where we discussed upon redefining sustainability, followed by our episode 3 on 7th of April, where we discussed the impact on workforce due to slowdown. Then we had our episode 4, where we have discussed about the fixed operating expenses of every restaurant, which is very high, and how to deal with the current scenario. Then we had our episode 6, the last episode, which we had on 21st of April, where we discussed about the operational cost, including energy, water, and other resources and their impact on current situation. Let me formally welcome you to Slowdown episode 6. And I would request now Ms. Tarandeep Full to kindly introduce our guest speakers for the day. Over to you, Taran.
Thank you, Dheeraj. It's an honor to welcome all our guest speakers for the day today. We really thank all of you to accept our invitation in a very short notice. We take this opportunity also to thank all our participants who have given us their valued time for today's episode number 6. I take this opportunity to first of all welcome the veteran of hotel industry, Mr. Sunil Gadgio. He, I think every industry knows him in the industry, from ages. He's been a game changer of the industry. He's the director of Shanti Hospitality Management Services that focuses on building exceptional assets and brands. They have a portfolio of about 2,000 keys across 24 hotels globally. And to name a few in India, Ananda in the Himalayas, Amritara and Nidra. His company also manages 4 Points by Sheraton, Aloft Hotels, Hyatt Place and Hyatt Regency. We welcome you, sir, for the day today. We also welcome Mr. Atul Khanna. He's the director of Vivana Culture Hotels in Rajasthan, which is a Shikhavati Haveli, and that has been restored by him. It's a 19th century Haveli. His hotel has been judged as the best heritage hotel 2019 by SATE. He's been a leading importer of packaged goods from US and introduced brands like Hershey's, Master Foods, Clorox Home Care, Reynolds Wraps, Del Monte in the Indian market, and been an active member in the Committee for Supply Chain and Ministry of Agriculture. We also welcome Mr. Kamal Khattar, Managing Director at Jester Hotel and Foods Private Limited, founder of brands like Indian Grill Home, which are fine dining in Gurgaon, and Masala Cafe. He's been instrumental in running Fort Grand in Chanakya Puri, to name a few. He's been a serial entrepreneur and a veteran hospitality expert as well. We also welcome Mr. Vijendra Singh. He's a CEO and founder of CT Hotels and Resorts, which is a chain of 8 hotels in Manali, Jim Corbett, and Haryana. We welcome you all, sir, today. So to start with our episode, we know that we are in the trying times, but looking at more towards positivity and looking at more of strategies which we should be looking at and implementing in our respective places of work. We go on to the first discussion point, which I would request Mr. Gadgio to throw light on. We would like to know, how you are actually visualizing this entire global perspective situation and the domestic market. What do you think? What is the message from your side for the hoteliers who are there in this episode for today? Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Taran. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. At the outset, I'd just like to put your introduction a little bit in perspective, Taran, if you don't mind.
Sure, sir. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so the company I work for is Shanti Hospitality Management Services Private Limited, which is a drop down of Shanti Hospitality Private Limited. We own and operate belong to us, and also third management structures. The hotels that we own are hotels like Hyatt Regency, Amritsar, Hyatt in Ahmedabad, the Hyatt in Hyderabad, Hyatt in Pune, and the Hyatt Centric in Bangalore. Other than that, we have Sheraton Delhi, Baroda, to a third-party owner. Similarly, we have a lot of smaller hotels, private getaways under Amritara Hotels, and we have overseas operations also in Mauritius. Under the Shanti brand, we have hotels in Mauritius, in Italy, etc. So, Shanti Hospitality Management Services does manage up to Hyatt Regency hotels. Not all of them that belong to us, but some of them. So that's the perspective. I look after acquisition and development, which is a very interesting portfolio and is going to possibly get very rough, and that's something we can take up in discussion a bit later. However, to answer your question on how badly we are impacted, you know, I'm going to give you a very personal perspective on this, where some people may agree and disagree, but I got to say that there have been a lot of webinars, there have been a lot of discussion on various platforms by industry as a whole. And there is a serious downside as we have it, and there is an upside being projected and estimated. But I got to tell you something, everybody, and that is that this industry is hugely impacted. And my belief is the very philosophy of hospitality is going to change once we recover. So I don't know what people are talking about post-COVID recovery and stuff like that, but there's a huge change coming out. And I'm glad that webinars and discussions on platforms like yours have begun, because this is going to stimulate a lot of thought process on, you know, how to first of all survive during this impacted period, and subsequently how you're going to revive. So there's the question of survival at the moment and the revival subsequent. And that, and I'm glad people are talking, thinking, they're understanding that the change is going to come. The first step in the right direction is to understand that there's a huge change going to come about because of this impact. This impact is, I mean, probably as bad or might get even worse than what World War II was. And a lot of us keep saying that, you know, we didn't know that we're going to go through this in our lifetime, but at the end of the day, we are a part of it now. I would also request people not to simplify this. Both in the short term and the long term, the ramifications are going to have both financial and academic implications. Financial, known to everybody. Everybody who's in business, everybody who works with organizations will understand that there's going to be financial implication both on organizations and people themselves. Now, how bad this is going to get, only time will tell. Academically, because a lot of change is going to come about in terms of how you're going to operate your properties, your assets, and what you are going to do with people, what you're going to do with learning, what you're going to do with training, what you're going to do with this stuff is going to impact academically as well. So I think these are some key issues that we need to address. But my point is that while this is happening globally, we need to dovetail this whole thing with really with what is happening in getting a cure or a cure for this virus, and coming to a stage where businesses can again begin to take off safely or as safely as possible. So there is the cure and the prevention which are being worked upon globally. And the timing of that is going to really drive, I feel, what is going to drive our businesses, and that timing is imperative. So people have been talking about lockdown closing, lockdowns opening, businesses beginning. My fear is that lockdowns open, and I'm not favoring lockdowns, so don't get me wrong, but my thinking is that you open a lockdown, your cases are going to spike, you may go into a lockdown again. So it possibly is a seesaw effect till you really get a prevention for this virus. Now, when we talk about prevention for the virus, my reading is that, and I am only working on fact and data, and I go back to what Mr. Narayana Murthy very rightly says: we have in God we have faith. The rest of us bring data on the table, and that's the important part. So going by data and by what one is seeing, we are saying that September, hopefully, there will be a prevention for this virus. So in respect, whatever happens till September, and I hope I'm wrong, I hope it's a whole lot earlier, but till whatever happens, till the time of September comes and there is something happening in prevention and hopefully cure, whatever happens in opening and closing of lockdowns, you're going to have a seesaw effect on your businesses. Because till you can actually generate safety and you can generate enough, where people are confident, and you can generate enough confidence in people to actually participate and in your businesses, like using hotels, using restaurants, traveling by air, till then we are going to have an extremely rough period. So, and this is going to be global, and this is not going to be restricted to any one continent of the world. I personally see that there's going to be sharp decrease in EBITDA. There already is. You're going into negative EBITDAs in the coming months. So really, what we need to do is try and understand and work backwards on how we can sustain ourselves for this period till there is a strong enough and something encouraging that will make people begin to use our businesses like hotels and restaurants again. There is going to be a serious debt burden. Capital repayment is going to be a very difficult challenge, a very big challenge. And the rest of the negative impacts are known to everybody, so I don't think I need to go ahead. But this is how big it is going to be. And I think we need to sort of cover our tracks till September, when we can hope to start seeing something positive begin to happen in our industry. How long this is going to last is a subject. Estimates are coming out from all over the places. But I don't think you're going to see a pre-COVID-19 period till somewhere in the quarter 4 of 2021, after which you possibly will be back to what you're doing, and hopefully nothing else happens, right? But there are a lot of things, and we can discuss this as we go on to the panel. I don't want to talk about everything as right now, because that will leave very little for others to discuss. So I think it's important that everybody gets into the discussions, the other panelists. But any perspective that you say, what is the global perspective and the domestic market, this is where we are as we stand. Everything else is an estimate. There are no rights and no wrongs in estimation, I must tell you. Everybody at this time is guessing, and everybody's guess is as good as the others. And it is all got to be dovetailed with the cure and prevention of the virus. In the meantime, what steps need to be taken, etc., we can keep discussing as this event show goes on today.
Thank you, sir. This was truly a real perspective, because that's how it is. We need to get in terms with it and then work out on things at our back end, because that's a reality right now. We have to be with the reality, and of course look at the estimation, but then not get lured that this is just going to open. This is not going to open, because the normalcy will also take a longer time, as you mentioned rightly. 2021 is what we're actually looking at, little smoothening of things, but that's way ahead. I think this is the time to actually for us sit back and audit every aspect of our operations and see how we go about sorting all the problems. So do we see a perpetual change in the business quantum going forward or the business pattern? If Mr. Khattar can answer this question, please.
Thank you, Joanne. It's been a pleasure to be here. Yes, definitely, as Mr. Sunil just described everything in such a small time, and I completely agree with him. This is not actually normal times we are going, all of us going through right now. The entire world is affected. We are not something different from the world. All category of business, either they're small hotel, big hotel, small restaurant chains, or a single standalone restaurant, everybody is deeply affected by all this. And this pandemic is going to stay here for some time, and definitely we all know that quantum and the quantum of the business is not there right now. The business, the pattern can be decided in future subject to what are the government guidelines we get and directives as and when they tell us to open the restaurants. Also, we have to see when we get the guidelines and the directives given by the government, how feasible they are to implement and how feasible it is to run with the kind of expenses we all have right here, right now. Till the time the markets do not come out, do not open completely, it is very hard to describe what kind of situation we are in right now. So it is definitely bad, and the business is completely effective and it is going to take a lot of time till the time vaccination or any kind of cure do not come in the market. So
right, because I think you being in the currently in the restaurant.
Hello, you're not audible, Tarun. Hello.
Am I audible?
Yeah, no, I can hear you.
We missed you. Can you repeat, please?
Tarun, what did you say? Please.
Yeah. So am I audible now?
Yes.
Now you're audible.
Okay. So I'm saying, you know, because Mr. Khattar, you are in a fine dining business, you know, of restaurants, right? Which has major fine dining as a percentage vis-a-vis the deliveries at home. So, you know, of course, with this entire pandemic, you know, you would not see people coming into the outlet even if it opens, even if the situation opens. So, you know, how are you containing the sentiments of your staff right now? How are you containing the entire environment in the restaurant? You know, per se, your business, your restaurant business. You know, what are you doing right now? What is your workforce doing right now, and what are the strategies which you are getting on the table at the moment?
We are all sitting home right now. We are all sitting home right now.
Yeah, sure. We all actually sitting at home, but I'm sure we are working towards the future as well.
So we are just trying to talk out with each other. We are, in fact, I've been in touch with my all senior staff and been telling them that when we pray that we come back to action as soon as possible. And I hope there's a new cure and vaccination. It comes as soon as, since till the time people are scared, even if government tell us to open restaurants, very hard to get people to the restaurant, you know. There's definitely a scare. Even probably I might not go myself, I mean, to any restaurant. At the time, I'm not sure that we are out of it. No matter how much care we take to keep a hygiene of the staff, and even then there would be a lot of scare. But yes, as I earlier said, the government guidelines and directives, once we get those things and the opening of the dates, I think we will be able to clarify it more to the staff as well as to everybody that what exactly steps we're going to take.
Sure.
Unless and until we don't get those guidelines, it is not possible to do that.
Right. So what you are trying to say is that it's more like wait and watch, and those guidelines, once they come, that also feasibility has to be measured, you know, whether they are feasible in your system of work, you know, sphere or not, right?
Correct.
So
you're very
it's
right.
more like a wait and watch.
Because the moment we start our operations, the expenses will start immediately. Right now, I'm sitting home. I might not. I'm like, probably I'll be giving some part of the salaries to my staff, even though there's no work. But still, the operational expenses will start the day I start my operations. So we have to actually have to see a lot of wait and watch till the time we actually get government directive from the directives from the government.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Khattar. Mr. Khanna, would you like to throw some light on this particular question, which we just posed? Your inputs, please, from a hotel perspective, because your major audience is dependent from inbound, and the foreigners are not going to come for a longer duration of time. So what do you see as a changes in the business quantum or the business pattern of your heritage hotel?
Okay, so I have so many panelists who are much more experienced than me, so I'm here more to learn from them. But I'll just tell you my personal experience. This has been a project of passion, and it was very exciting for me. We started this about 7 years back, and we were depending, almost 70% was on tourists from Europe and US. And this is rather unexpected, and we don't know how to really handle it. And what I see, if you have a solution as a businessman, you have a solution for something. If you see that it's going to improve in the next 3 months, 4 months, but I think from what I understand that the next season is almost gone. Like I wish that what Mr. Gadok is saying comes true, that September we start getting business. But actually what we are depending is not only what's happening in India, if things improve in India, but we will also depend on what's happening in the world, because our tourism is going to come from the world. So unless, again, I'm now having another look at the hotel, can we depend a little more on Indian tourists, how to attract more Indian tourists? Maybe that is something which I thought of earlier also, even before COVID, we were looking at that possibility, because what the scare was, because of terrorism or because of other reasons, foreign tourists can sometimes, not come to a destination. So we kind of prepared ourselves earlier also. But this really tells you also that you have to also, as far as I'm concerned, as a standalone hotel in Rajasthan, that we have to look closer at the Indian market also. So that is one of my learnings from this. And again, I think, what do we do? It's not going to happen this is a new normal, at least for a year. So maintenance, renovations, or creating some healthy menu. I don't know, when tourists come back, maybe they are looking for a healthier menu. So we start preparing on something like that. And I think another thing which is very important is to adopt protocols of sanitization, safety. So you have to convey that to your customer. Whoever is going to come, even after 7, 8, 9, 10 months, has to be very confident about your hotel. So I think we have to develop those protocols, that it is safe to come to the hotel. We are maintaining all kinds of standards. So that, of course, I'll need the advice from more seasoned people, that how can we create that confidence? So I did a small survey within my family. We have a large family. So I realized that it's the millennials who probably would be the first ones. The business would come from the younger people first. Almost 65% of the population, of our population, is the younger people. So probably they'll be the first ones to come. The older people will take to travel. The business traveler would, I think, if I run a business, would I be traveling all over the world? I think I've learned the new ways of connecting each other through internet. So I think the younger people who are looking for experiences, the younger people who want a little bit of adventure, we are first client. I think that's a personal assessment which I did with my small survey. So I think I'll have to work on making, giving more experiences to this younger tourist. As I said, develop some menus which are exciting. So those are the things I'm working on as of now. How do I handle my staff is a question top of my mind, because I don't want to lose my people who I've built a relationship with. But again, a year or 10 months is a long time. So again, as Mr. Khattar also said, we are negotiating with them. We are seeing that how do we go ahead with them. So those are the challenges. And as I said, I'm here to learn from the experienced people. It is a challenge which we never expected. So we are not really prepared for it. So these webinars are going to be extremely helpful to understand the way forward.
Mr. Khanna very rightly said, but then, we all believe that these are the times for creating new things. These are times which would teach us lots of reinvention. opportunities. We need to make our strategies differently now. They rightly said that the domestic market needs to be tapped, and there was an ignorance, from that aspect, because you were always dependent on the inbound. I think those strategies have to be now taken step forward, because there's a lot of potential in the domestic market. You need to create a rapport with the travel agents, who get you business from the domestic market. Online needs to be boosted up, because online market needs to be really, really closely looked at. This is what I think. I'm sure you're doing all these studies and all these workings at your, currently, because this is the time to work rather than wait, for the lockdown to open. I'm sure those things are being done. Anything specific which you would like to, or we would just like the participants to raise questions? There are a lot of questions which are coming up in the chat box.
Taran, I'd like to come in on this point, if it's all right.
Sure, sir, please.
And I'll do this very quickly, because you're saying there's a lot of participants who want to ask a lot of questions. That's fair. But, both Mr. Khatter and Mr. Khanna have raised some very valid points. But just to add to what they're saying, at this time, I think Mr. Atul Khanna has raised a very important point, is that, this is the time to plan your reopening. So use the time effectively. I think everybody who has assets should start using this time to plan for reopening. Continue to engage with key sources of people who actually are your business. Don't lose sight of them. They are your potential customers. This is the time that you got to stay in touch with those guys, And for sure, Mr. Khanna, I really like what you said. Do try and manage your people with sensitivity, even, when you're executing wage cuts, because you are, as an owner, have a serious burden on your head. And a lot of people here have a serious burden of, wages. So you might have to do some wage cuts. You might have to be a little practical about it. But it would be very nice if people who own businesses, even when they carry out this process, they're sensitive about it. And for sure, keep your assets in extremely good shape. Coming back to your question, Taran, yes, about change in business quantum, let me say that there's enough data floating around. There's a lot of data floating around. You only have to Google a bit and you get so much data. But these are all estimates. And like Mr. Khatter rightly said, that, all this is also dependent on a prevention in terms of vaccine, or, something in terms of cure. But, past business trends have shown that there is, after any serious downfall, now this has other ramifications of safety and hygiene, but after any serious downfall, your occupancies show a very serious spike, at least in the mid-market hotels. One has even seen this in Wuhan, where once they opened up their, movement, the occupancy of the mid-market hotel and upper upscale hotels or upscale hotels shot up to about 40% very, very quickly. We in India have a very big advantage that our domestic consumption of room nights in hotels is very large, because your domestic travel can pretty much sustain you. So very rightly said, Mr. Khanna, in Rajasthan, I believe you have a property in Rajasthan, am I right?
Yeah, sir. He has a heritage property.
Wonderful, because in my mind, your business hotels, and we are probably bigger victims in my company, but it's your business hotels which are going to have a bit of a struggle, because businessmen are not likely to travel so easily. Like you and I will not travel for business, because we have the advantage of IT, and now we are all getting used to connecting very quickly on Zoom, Duo, web, and doing all these kind of things. However, your leisure travel is likely to become a mainstay for hotels. So, you will probably be not so badly hit as a business hotel, and you have a great opportunity of reviving your property. So I don't think you should be losing heart so quickly, and stay with it. And I think you're going to be one of the gainers in my mind. And this is where this is the change in business pattern that's likely to take place. However, even for business travel hotels, your customer expectations are going to change. So possibly, safety and hygiene will even be higher than safety and security, which used to be on the top. So it's going to be safety and hygiene. And there are 100 steps you Google it and 10 people have already listed out what you should be doing. But there are going to be great innovations. I was reading today that there's a company in Bangalore which has created a piece of equipment where it is so easy to sanitize all goods coming into your house and also in larger industrial assets. So, there are going to be a lot of innovations. But obviously, when I talk about change in philosophy, it's going to be the minimum guest engagement that is really going to work. So how it's going to work on the number of people you're going to work with in your assets is going to be the big change. IT interface will completely try and replace human engagement. And that's going to be a big take. But I don't need to bore everybody with what's going to happen because the processes are all there. There are hundreds of processes already out. And all you really need to is go to them and see what's relevant for yourself. But one last one for restaurants. People are talking about, and what worries me most is about restaurants. Will people go to restaurants? Let me tell you, to my mind, design works has a big play in when people decide to go out to eat. And I already have one of my architects or one of some of our hotels, he's worked on a restaurant design which will blow everybody's mind. He has done it in a manner where you engage with each other in a bigger group, yet you don't have direct contact, and it still looks so beautiful. So, you can redesign your restaurants in a manner that creates that integral safety of not being too close to each other and not talking into each other's face, yet it's a beautiful experience. So, restaurants also have an opportunity, and it's how they use design, I feel, how they use design to their advantage to actually continue with their business, and how service standards, of course, get carried out, and what kind of hygiene factors. Those, of course, stay standard, but there's an opportunity even there. So, I mean, I think a lot of innovation will come about. People will continue to live. COVID is not going away. COVID has come. You may get a vaccine to protect yourself and prevent yourself, but COVID remains, like flu remains. So you've got to be careful now all for the rest of your lives.
That's true, sir. And it's very hopeful because, Mr. Khanna, you should be happy because there's a lot of hope. There is a lot of opportunity for you, for your mid-sized properties, and so on and so forth.
I'd like to add here, if I sounded a little negative, that was just probably telling myself how to handle the situation. Let me also tell you the positive side, because we have other hoteliers, and the encouragement is also necessary, that we all are encouraged. So even today, I get calls from my regular, the travel agents, and even the customers who have stayed from Italy and Spain. They are saying that as soon as this is over, we are coming over. Nobody's giving up on the travels. And of course, another good thing which I see for a hotel, a standalone hotel like mine, we are drivable distance. So suppose this thing kind of slows down. I agree with Sunil ji, it's not going to die down in a hurry. But even when it slows down, there are enough people who are ready to sit down and sit in their cars, drive this 4 or 5 hours distance and experience something in Rajasthan. So that is another traveler we are looking at, the city traveler who would now prefer to travel in their cars, go to destinations nearby. So it is all good. This is a project of passion, and we are not giving up in a hurry. This is...
Yes, sir. Please don't give.
No, Atul, I didn't mean to say you were negative, but you're very right. And I'll tell you, a lot of Indians have traveled abroad more and haven't seen their own country yet. And I think that's going to be the big plus here.
There's a huge potential in the domestic market, Mr. Khanna. I think that needs to be explored thoroughly. We would request the participants, if they have any questions, they can just put it before we come to the next question.
Hi, I'm Rita Shah here. I'd like to ask Mr. Sunil. Hi, Sunil. Rita here. I'm being a hotelier. Now, we've all talked about a lot of things on business and how it's going to improve. But what is the state of the staff? And how are we going to continue with them if this condition goes on for another 2 to 3 months? Are we going to continue with the same strength? Are the strengths going to come down? Are the salaries going to be affected? What do we see in future?
Rita ji, I'm sorry, did I get your question right? Was your question more about how you're going to manage, what's the best way to manage staff strength? Yeah,
Correct.
okay.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
so, like I said, I believe each asset owner or each person responsible for his hotel is the best judge of this. The way I would look at it and the way I'm trying to look at it is, set yourself a safe month to say, look, I will start going into cash break, cash even status, let's say in the month of December. Because really things are going to happen in September if they do. So I got to work back that, look, I need to sustain myself for 6 months. Now, do I have the capacity to do so, or do I not have the capacity to do so? It is as practical as that. And I would imagine we are all going through wage cuts at the moment, and even people who are working for us are extremely perceptive to this and understand that at the moment we will get a partial wage cut, but there may come a time when you get a sustenance salary just to sustain yourself.
Correct.
We're not trying to throw people out. We're trying to be
We all love our staff, but then, there is a limit to how long you can sustain them for.
Exactly. So there may come a time when, if things don't get better quickly, that organizations may have to actually start giving out pink slips, but then that is life, and I'm being as straight and brutal as I can be. I have no option, but that's the only answer I have for your question. In countries like US, Germany, and others, there has been a lot of injection of funds towards salaries of people, but unfortunately in India, that's not going to happen.
In India, we've not had,
It's not going to happen, right?
Yeah.
I do believe that for companies that, I don't know if you know this, but it's something worth investigating if you haven't, but companies that have less than 100 employees or something, ESI would pay 70% of their salaries and be shown as those people being unwell. So I don't know if that's something I haven't really investigated, but maybe you want to.
I'll check that out.
The fact is that really there is no funding coming in from the government. The government,
no.
We are very low down on their priority list. They have bigger things to try and manage at the moment. And I would only imagine that wage cuts right now would be very important for you to somehow manage for 6 month period, as I see it. And some, we do hope that in that much time we come up with a solution.
Well, it's a tough time for people who have properties on management, lease also, because it's very tough to carry on. And the moratorium, which has been given by the government to other, properties, I don't think it is going to apply to the hoteliers who've taken lease properties.
But
that's a very tough one for them at the moment.
But you could. I would try and recast my agreements. If it's a lease agreement, I would try and recast my agreements with the owners of the property, because it would be very unfair.
That's a way that one can look at.
Absolutely.
Right. Any more questions from the participants before we go to the next question, please?
We have a time constraint, I believe, so kindly rush to the...
So, Mr. Vijendra, we just wanted your inputs on this particular question. How do you see the future of workforce employees, with your properties, CT hotels, because you operate about 8 hotels right now. So what is that you're doing specifically with your properties? Mr. Vijendra? Can you hear us, please?
I believe he is probably not there here right now.
Okay.
I think he got disconnected, so.
Okay, sure. So just try to get him back. And in the meantime, we can take this question probably from the participants itself, because there are a lot of general managers in the entire, list of participants. So would anybody like to take this up? How can you share the best practices which you are doing in terms of workforce management right now?
Anyone from participant who would like to take this question and would like to contribute to it?
See, I have a comment here that I know these are tough times, but definitely don't lose your core team. It is, do the innovative part of it, as I said, do things which you were too busy doing earlier. And of course, in terms of the salaries of the staff, you have to make them sit down and, there has to be some negotiations, but you cannot afford, at least my personal view is, you cannot afford to lose your trained people. You have to wait. It's a long wait. You have to somehow sustain yourself. Those are my personal thoughts.
Very true. Mr. Khattar, would you like to throw some light on this particular question from your perspective?
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree with Mr. Atul that the core team, we cannot just let the core team go away. And rightly, we have to actually sit with them, negotiate the wages and everything. And probably they also know that this is actually a very bad time going on, not for us, but for everybody. We are on the same boat, all of us. And we have to sustain these times, and the staff definitely, even they don't want to leave us. I mean, they've been working us in so many years. We've been helping each other. I mean, so we will definitely negotiate, and we also expect the government to get in step towards an ESI or provident funds, whatever given, they should also start sharing. Once we get, if we get any support from the government, definitely it's going to make a lot of difference in that case.
So I think the contribution from the government would make a lot of decisions smoother, in terms of every business house.
Correct, as Mr. Sunil was saying, that a lot of other countries like US, Canada, and so many developed nations are doing it for the people who have lost their jobs. They've given them so much. They've infused so much of financial assistance to those people. We don't expect that much from the government in India, but definitely we expect something from them. Even we get a little support from them, we will be able to support our staff much better in that way, and we can sustain it for a very longer time. And
I think,
we hope.
Yeah.
Taran,
sure.
can I give you some figures?
Yes, sir. Please.
Okay, so let me just tell you that in India, 22.5 crore people are employed in agriculture, 11 crore in manufacturing, industrial and government services, and 19 crores in the unorganized sector. I don't want to sound negative, but I don't believe that the government is going to try and sustain people in the hospitality alone. It will not work for them. So while I'm not blaming the government, but I don't think they're in a position to do so. The hospitality sector alone has 4.2 crore people, which is 8% of the total employment as we speak. The hospitality sector will have to see how they sustain, retain, or whatever they do, their people, and try and recover in a manner where they can sustain some level of salaries and wages. And today, employees are very willing to sign on the dotted line when it comes to wage cuts, because they would not like to lose their jobs. So I think, one, as a business, but two, as a part of humanity, we should try and see how we can sustain maximum number of people who are already employed with us by even bringing them down to sustenance wages. And you will be shocked to know that restaurant employment, and these are restaurants, I mean, there will be a lot of restaurants which are not a part of this, but restaurant employment is about 7 million people. So between hospitality, which is hotels, restaurants, everything put together, that's a huge number. But I don't believe that there's too much going to come as assistance directly to employees like they have overseas. It's not going to happen here. So we have to ourselves fight this battle.
Right. So these are the, the right figures which Mr. Gaduk has shared, and I think we need to make our own, business assessments as we go along, in our respective businesses. But I think in our past episodes also, what has actually come out is that, you know, people have, the general managers or the vice president, the owners, they've started looking at staff doing multi-skilling. You know, so they're training them this time. They're actually telling them to do some skill training so that that can be also honed. The skills can be honed so that the staff can be also used for various other things. But having said that, you know, the top management, of course, is strategy building and all that, as Mr. Khattar mentioned, that key, you know, group of people is required. But trimming of staff has slowly, you know, already begun in the industry, because that understanding has already begun between the owners in terms of addressal to the down the line staff. So whether it is in the form of salary cuts or likewise, you know, those things are already being seen. But then it's a new strategy which has to be brought out once the lockdown gets over. I think all the businesses have to diversify. They have to relook at their entire cost structures and work out around it.
You know, Taran, coming to cost structures, I think in the future, good business houses will have to start putting an X amount of money towards possible disasters.
True.
Like we keep in hotels for 2.5 or 3% of our annual turnovers towards FF&E accounts, I think there's got to be some put away for managing disasters.
That's right. And similarly, you know, not only the hospitality, it's also being seen in the airlines industry, because the other day I was talking to a very senior official in the airlines industry, and he was saying the contingency plans, you know, in terms of even budgeting is not really strictly looked at. So therefore, you know, once these, unforeseen crises come forth, you're not prepared and everything shuts down in a jiffy. So those, you know, budgeting has to be done in such a way that we can sail through, or we have a contingency plans. Those have to be also worked out side by side. I think that is very, very important.
We have certain questions here. Can we have a question from Mr. Mohit Sharma?
Yeah, so
Hi, thank you for giving me the chance. So my question is to the panelist, and thank you, Mr. Sunil, for bringing this point that there is a very little help we can expect whether the stimulus package is concerned from the government side. But as you all are aware that hospitality itself is a labor-intensive, industry, and we have a lot of low-class labor, low-paid labor, as well as a middle-class paid labor. So, do you think that government will allow, or there is some kind of a labor minimum wages restrictions which will be reduced, as we will see that the wages of the labor which we pay will go down, especially in the catering and the banqueting industry. So do you think that as a industry, as a union, we can, as an association, we can write to the government that they can think about certain aspects of this in an industry?
So I believe you have a serious point there, and I know this is going to come because actually 35 million jobs are at risk. But coming back to your question, I think there's a serious possibility that at least for those people who are earning less than an X amount, let's say 15 or 20,000, without any riders, the ESI should be looking after at least 50 to 60% of their salary, which immediately brings a burden down on owners and people who are responsible for paying this. So I think there is a possibility that we should at least, because that is the force that is really going to be affected directly if they are actually asked to leave their jobs, because that may come. So while one keeps praying that there is a cure that comes and business starts to sort of pick up again, however, you're right. There should be some sort of thread, which is some sort of rope thrown by the government to at least sustain those level of people. Then owners can bring others down to a sustenance level of survival if push comes to shove.
Right. I think Manav has one point which he would like to add to this in terms of not related to the government, but then the employee future strategies which we were talking about. Manav from the participants. Manav, you
Yeah,
can
hi.
take ahead. Yeah.
Thank you. So, looking at the slide before this was a question on about, how are you looking at the future of the employees in the hospitality industry? So we got caught up into what is happening in the present as if this is going to be the future as well. This is not how it is going to be in the future. People are going to be coming back to the restaurants and people are going to go to hotels. But yes, as a cost cutting measure in terms of what employees can look forward to is that. So I look at three things. I look at a lot of role duplication which can be looked at. How is the duties and responsibilities of an F&B manager different of that of an F&B director or director EAM F&B in a hotel? There is a lot of overlap. You could look at that. Similarly, there is an executive sous chef and an executive chef in a hotel. You could look at those kind of duplication of hierarchies, duplication of work and responsibilities. You could look at streaming that out. There is a lot of supervision. We have a system of supervising people. There is a supervisor, every floor supervisor in the housekeeping. Why can't we have self supervision? Why can't we have a self audit system? This will help us save costs in appointing supervisors. So somebody does the work and then somebody comes and checks that work, whether the work has been done. It's pretty ridiculous. People, employees will have to learn and understand that, what they're doing is that, they have to do it to the T, they have to do it to perfection, and that's it. And they are responsible. In most of the hotels, the responsibility lies with the person who checked it and not with the person who did it. So we could look at doing that. At the senior management level, we have a lot of centers where we can have the senior management to be to participate and bring out the entrepreneur in them. We could have less of fixed salary and more of an incentivized salary. That will really bring out the entrepreneur in them, right? And you could link it. I mean, hotels are working on a sales royalty. You could link that to the as an incentive to the person who's in that role. I think they are the best person to bring profitability. They know the job inside out. They know the challenges, and as a department head, as HODs, they can contribute the most. I think these are a few things that is there in the future of employees, and this will help them grow, and this will help them learn as well.
Right. Thank you. We would like to discuss one very important point, which is related to technology. Way forward, how the technology is going to be enhanced for both smaller and medium organizations. What is the new technology which is going to be adopted? How technology centric, your entire property is going to be, because keeping distancing in mind, will it be moving more on self, check-in? People would start doing the check-ins and the checkouts on their own. Human interface will be reduced over a period of time. So those things are being seen across various articles and various webinars which are being discussed at the moment. So it'll be more like new definition to technology. It's already there, but taking a step forward and stepping up, I would say. So I would like Mr. Khattar to throw some light on it in terms of restaurants, how you kind of enhancing this technology bit, and we can just take it on from here.
Yeah, Karan, as you rightly said, we have to do a lot of modification as in the technology is concerned. The new thing which is going to enter into our world, that no human direct touch would be when they're like we used to give a menu card to somebody. I don't think so anybody would be really keen to share a menu card with other people they're sharing. So we have to come up with the technology that they can, before even coming to the restaurant, they can see the menu cards on their phone, they can order it before they actually come and sit on the tables. So a lot of non-human things are going to happen, which never we even thought about. Things had already been doing, we are already into a technology age and we've been changing a lot so far, but we have to take it to a new level where new additions and modifications has to be done. Also at the same time, our staff has to be actually trained to get into tune with the new technology we like to bring in. But it's not overnight kind of stuff. We have to, right now things are not moving at all. Though even we want to get into a new technology, we are not able to connect with the people, the right people who actually does it. And I know there will be a lot of people even doing it right now, sitting home. So there has to be an innovation where the customer has to feel secured and has to feel that this technology is the new technique, which is going to be less of human touch, will give more confidence in any customer, whether it is in a hotel or in a big hotel, a small hotel, or even in a fine dining restaurant.
So when you said, the customers who are going to be walking into your fine dining will be seeing the menu beforehand before they walk into the restaurants. So that means that you would be actually encouraging bookings, pre-bookings before they actually walk in. So that is going to be more encouraged, right? So that is how they'll be able to see the...
What I believe that as and when we open, there will be some directives from the government, like what we see in Canada. I was talking to one of the restaurateurs there, that government has allowed them to keep only 30% of the total seating what they have right now. So, and we have to divide those 30% in time slots to the guests. So we can actually take bookings in advance because we have already placed them in time slots. At the same time, we can make them more handy so that they can do menus. They can see menus and order before they actually enter, so that they don't have to even touch anything. They can order their drinks, they can order their food. So we want to give them the same experience what we were getting earlier, with less of crowd, keeping more distancing between each other, keeping less staff in the kitchen, because more crowded staff would definitely things going to make, we have to, no matter what we say, we've been discussing, but we have to cut down on the staff somewhere or the other, so that there's less crowd, and like everybody, multitasking of the staff has to be done. Like Manav rightly said, that people have to do a multitasking. There were 3 people doing one job, 1 people doing 3 jobs right now. It's going to be new kind of things happening. We're going to see a lot of changes like that happening very soon.
What you're saying is there's a lot of rebooting which is going to happen for sure. Whether it is a hotel,
started,
whether it is,
we have already started.
This is the time to do it,
This is going to be new life after post-COVID, and like Mr. Sunil, the most senior person here right now, he's whatever word I've learned so much from him even now, like in terms of modification, interior parts in restaurant. That is didn't expect. I never even thought of. Like, thank you so much, Mr. Sunil. And it's been ingrained inside today. But yes, there is going to be a lot of technology modifications we see happening to give a very good experience to a customer, but yet keeping a lot of distance, keep ourselves and the customer safe in that perspective.
Right.
Karan, just taking this forward, from my point of view as a standalone hotel, I must tell you guys, I'm working on this very interesting app. So that's what you have to do when you have the time. So I'm working on an app which is a concierge app, so it allows you to welcome, to give instructions, to have your check-in, check-out all on this app, and special requests, the meals, orders, everything happens on the app. So the idea is reduce human contact and interaction. So I think those things would come up, and also what this would lead into would also be a possibility of reducing your staff. And even like Mr. Khattar rightly said, people don't want to see a lot of crowds. So maybe what's also going to, if you can afford it, maybe cloud-based back offices. The back offices may not be in the same premises as the hotel. So I think the lesser people your guest sees, more comfortable the guest is. And of course, with technology, the online marketing continues. There is no, that's the best way to spread the word around. So I see those kind of changes, so I encourage everyone that these concierge kind of apps would be extremely helpful in the future.
Yes, Mr. Khanna. In fact, your business has expanded because it's not just the inbound, it's also the domestic market, which you will be now focusing. So anyways, your business is going to rock in times to come.
Let us all be very positive about it.
Yes.
We survived World War I, we've survived World War II, and we all rebonded back. So I think we are a lot lesser than here right now. And we will survive, we will flourish again. And I think by God's grace, everything going to come back to normal as soon as possible.
Yes, yes.
And we'll definitely forget about even discussion what we're having right now once we get back to normal. Seriously.
It's very nice. Somebody said that the word crisis in, the way it is written in Chinese in characters, part of it means threat, and the rest of the part, when you actually shape it into a word called crisis, is opportunity also. So it's a combination of both. So there has to be, positivity in whatever situation we are in. We need to work it out. We need to move out. We need to create things, rebooting, rethinking. All these things have to go with the entire strategy. So I think there is a lot of opportunities way ahead. Of course, it may take some time, as the reality is, but then we have to live with it and move on.
No, but also it will give a lot of hygiene lessons to a lot of people who actually never took it so seriously before. Actually,
I think all of us are very passionate people. So
we have to get more disciplined.
Yeah, we guys are very passionate people. I think the hospitality sector is a very. We'll make sure that we get out of this.
Mr. Khanna, you had mentioned about one app. Is there any name to the app? Because a lot of queries around that. What is the name of the app?
I'm not personally looking after it. My team is. So
you can update us and we can update the participants here, right?
Absolutely.
Sure. Any more questions before we wrap up the episode? We would request.
Most of the people got the answers very well.
Okay, great. So I think anybody who has more further questions can always post it on our email IDs and Facebook.
And
over to
thank you everybody coming on board, and it was a nice discussion.
Can I just take this opportunity? We are also looking for a tie-up. I have senior people here. So any tie-up suggestions, do let us know. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody.
I would like to take 2 more minutes from you and like to share that we'll be coming up with our episode 7. That would be on import substitution and alternative products. And this would be on 6th of May, Wednesday. And I would request you all to register it. We'll be reaching you out from WhatsApp messages. You can also go to our Facebook page, and we are open for sponsorships also. If somebody wants to sponsor your brand for the next episode, we can discuss it, the below mentioned numbers. They can WhatsApp us on the below mentioned number. You can have a note of the numbers if you want to have a sponsorship, or if you want to refer someone who wants to sponsor their brand in our episode. We are more than happy to assist. Once again, I would request you that if you have any personal questions left, please reach us to our Facebook page. That is www.facebook.com/happyhotelierclub. Stay safe, stay at home, and we'd request you to connect again in our next episode.